Patricia Gibson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I would like to echo the comments made by the previous honourable gentleman about how we can often see through the budget of Department for International Aid examples of the UK at its best trying to address discrepancies, as he put it, discrepancies in poverty and wealth between nations, between peoples across the globe. And if you were using the language of global Britain, I feel that might be perhaps one of the best examples that you might turn to. And of course these orders are welcomed in their attempts to address global poverty, and much mention has been made of Africa. And at first glance it looks as though for our international aid budget, it looks as though that it will be business as usual. But Madam Deputy Speaker, if you'll permit me, I would like to explain briefly why I do not think that is the case. Welcome, though, today's announcements are. Because once you discount most, not all, but most Tory MPs, there is no disguising the fact that the momentous decision and announcement this week has caused great alarm, and it will have far-reaching consequences for the poorest people in the world, the poorest people on earth. And the overwhelming consensus of opinion would bear that out, certainly those experts who work in the field of international development. And Madam Deputy Speaker, I can't help but notice that these very welcome measures that have been put forward, despite her name being on the order paper, the outgoing Secretary of State for the Department for International Development is not here today. And I do wonder if her absence should be treated in the conspicuous light in which it appears. Perhaps she also has concerns about the recent announcement that has been made. The announcements today, of course, could not stand in greater contrast to the lesser course that many of us in this House fear is now being steered towards international aid. We've heard, Madam Deputy Speaker, quite rightly today, much praise for the work of the Department for International Development, and one wonders why a department that has garnered so much praise and attracted so much admiration should suddenly find itself downgraded. It has been described by those working in the field as an act of political vandalism. I will leave others to judge for themselves, but certainly in my constituency, questions have been asked about whether or not this decision is being ideological.
Just listening to what she's saying, could I just remind her that the policy of the SNP, the hypothetical situation that there might be an independent Scotland, is to have foreign affairs and international development in the same department?
The Honourable Lady responds, I do want to ensure that we are actually addressing these orders rather than getting into a whole other debate. That's what we're here to scrutinise. Just remind the Honourable Lady of that, and other Honourable and Right Honourable members in the Chamber. It's about these orders. Patricia Gibson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I will endeavour to make my remarks as brief as possible. And I would say to the honourable gentleman in response to his question that the Scottish Government does have a minister in charge of overseas development, so he might want to reflect on that, because that's the importance that we place on it in Scotland. So I would just say to the Minister that he's bringing forward measures today that the House welcomes. But the fear, Madam Deputy Speaker, is for the future. And the fear is that putting the word super in front of the Foreign Office isn't going to cut it and it isn't going to address the concerns, because we do have historic responsibilities. As set out in these measures as brought before us, recognising that we do have historic responsibilities to the poorest nations around the world, as well as of course, moral responsibilities as we seek to take our place on the international stage. And it's worrying, Madam Deputy Speaker, that aid, and this is no secret, this is no revelation, that aid is now to be used to pursue security and diplomatic aims. And that might be an argument to make, but Madam Deputy Speaker, that is not what aid is for. Aid must be driven by need. And that's why I fear, sadly, in the future, we may have fewer of these announcements that are so welcome today when we seek to put a hand out and help up those countries who are need and deserve the help of the international community, and it must be based on need. So I would end by saying, Madam Deputy Speaker, that we hear much on the other side of the House about global Britain. Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, whatever floats your boat, but if you want to float that particular boat, then you may want to take your place on the international stage and lead in the area of international development instead of downgrading it and using it as a way of pursuing your own diplomatic aims. So we won't, in the SNP, oppose these measures today. We welcome them, but we do have profound fears about the future and about how aid will be administered from here on in.